So today is Monday, May 2nd. I'm going to call the meeting of the Wakefield Commission on Disabilities to order at 7:03 p.m. Lois, do you have your flag? There we go. Okay, and we can do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oops, you are all muted.
Me too.
No, Lois, you're the only one that's not. Can you all you are,
Hello.
hi,
Hi.
can you unmute yourselves? Or did I do something on this end? Okay, just want to be sure. Our mission statement, our mission is to address the needs and concerns of our disabled residents and provide their full participation in the activities of services of Wakefield. I do not see anyone on from the public. I've been trying to communicate with Bill Renaud, but I'm not hearing from him, so hopefully he's well. First item is I'd like to have the approval of the minutes from the April 4th meeting. Would someone please make a motion to approve those? Thank you, Lois. And could someone second that, please? Thanks, Levon. Okay, minutes approved. Lois, did you happen to get any update to the financials by any chance?
No change.
Interesting.
Might be too early, but I don't know that.
Okay, well, because I'm expecting, I think, between $400 and $600 to come out of our balance because of Intelligent Lives, but we'll soon see. So the first item, I would like to welcome Judy Tanner. This is her first time on the Zoom call. I'm so glad that we all got a chance to meet in person.
Great.
You know, at our Intelligent Lives event, and I'm sorry to see Darcy go. I actually bumped into Darcy. We were having pedicures the other day, coincidentally, so I told her we will keep in touch. And Bill just joined. Bill, how are you?
Howdy.
I don't see him yet.
Here? Let me get.
Gallery. There he is.
On the
How are you,
bottom.
Bill?
I don't think he's unmuted.
You're on mute.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
There we go. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Great. Great.
All right.
Okay, so I'm glad you joined, Bill, because I had a couple of questions that we wanted to run by you.
Sure.
And I also want to introduce you to our new member, Judy Tanner. Judy, this is Bill Renaud. He is the town engineer. He is also our ADA coordinator in town. So
Pleasure
Bill,
to meet you.
I'm going to start with the question that Judy brought to my attention in a conversation that we had recently. Judy has mobility issues and often uses a wheelchair to get around. And she commented that she has some grandchildren that she tries to take to the park and finding that very difficult. So Judy, I'm going to, if you don't mind, let you explain to Bill some of the challenges that you've had and where you're having those challenges in town.
Sure. The two playgrounds around the Lake Quannapowitt, those are great. They have nice paved areas. So one of the things that I want to just mention is a lot of older adults are now either taking care of their grandchildren part or even sometimes all of the time. And then I also noticed on the website, the AARP has evidently partnered with the Council on Aging for age-friendly action plan for outdoor spaces.
Okay.
And I noticed that they may have already contacted this committee, but evidently that's one of the things that they're targeting as well. So I went to JJ Round. This was one of the ones that I was having an issue with. I don't know if you can see this picture.
No, it's a little tough in the Zoom, but
Let me see
you
if
can
I
always
can
just
turn.
email that to, you can email that to me too.
You can't see it, right?
Not
No,
well.
it's too tough. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, basically what happens at JJ Round is that there's a nice paved area that goes to a water fountain.
Mhm.
And then next to that, there's a nice bench, but there's no possible way to really get from the water fountain to the bench. And then even with the bench, it's a little offset from the actual playground.
Mhm.
There's not really a lot, I think, that would need to be paved. So like when there's a basketball area that is sort of close by
Mhm.
that you could put a wheelchair on because that's a little more accessible. But then if kids come and play basketball, you can't be sitting there with a wheelchair.
Sure.
So the JJ Round was one that I was just, I just went down and took some photos. I'm sorry that you can't see them. And then the other one, the Maple Way, that's got a pretty nice like pea stone, but for a walker, a wheelchair, or even a cane or crutches, that can be really difficult. So I just really wanted to advocate that maybe if we could just get some concrete or some paving in those two, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Let me, what I'll do is I'll go take a look at both areas and then maybe we could just schedule a meeting, you and I, if that would be easiest.
Sure.
So, yeah. So either if you want to reach out to me, through my email that's on the website, the town website, under the engineering division, my email's on there. Or Marie, if you want to just email me, Judy's contact, I can go from there. So.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That would be
Yeah, no
wonderful.
problem at all.
And I really think all the seniors would really appreciate it too, because I know they like to use those picnic tables and those benches.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I'm hitting what you're asking. So I think it will make sense. Let me take a look first, and then we can catch up once I figure out, how much that would cost, when we can fund it, all that stuff. But we have money for playgrounds already, so it should fit into that budget. I also have some ADA money as well that's still there that was supposed to be for a study, but I mean, obviously, I'd rather spend it on things that are going to provide access. So.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Janice, did you have a question? Yes.
I did. I think that, Bill, you know this extremely well. You just need to make sure that you're not putting any asphalt or concrete in the fall zones of any of the playgrounds. And it's
of course
pretty big. So around swings, there's, dozens of feet in either direction where you can't have anything that's concrete or asphalt. And
Understood.
I completely agree with you about the pea stone, that it's not particularly user-friendly, and it also gets pushed out of the way very quickly underneath the swings, at the bottom of slides, and any of the active zones. So, it's put there to prevent
So what I'm
injury.
talking about is not actually in the playground where the children are on the swings. I'm talking about to get from the handicap parking spot to the bench, which is not inside of the realm of the actual playground.
Perfect.
Yep.
I completely
was
agree.
picking up on that. Yeah, I was picking up on that, Judy. So, okay.
And I will mention, as I think I've mentioned before, Judy, before you were on, that the Walton School Playground over on West Side has a completely accessible surface, the whole thing. So you can go right up to the elements of the playground. And you can actually go up on the structure because it has a ramp.
Yeah, so as we start replacing these play structures too, I've already talked to the director about this, you know, because I got the feedback from you folks in one of the last meetings. So that's something that's definitely on our radar to make sure we have accessible, you know, structures as well and surfaces. So we'll be moving in that direction continually. So that it's a good thing that we have these meetings.
It is. Thank you. You're always so responsive.
Bill, where do we stand as far as having that accessible swing for children that are in wheelchairs?
Yeah, we have some replacement money that the school's looking to include in their capital plan for this year. And as part of that, you know, what ends up happening is the school asks for the funding. Public Works is the one that actually implements it. So it would be part of our work, you know, to include it in the reconstruction. So I believe that they're looking at the Greenwood this year, I want to say. I think that's the structure that they're looking at this year. But whichever one's getting done will include the accessible, you know, the accessible components as part of it. And then we're looking at the services and everything around it too. So I'll be involved on that.
You never did find the one that Walton School had at one time?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Lorna.
I think Janice had once said that there had an accessible swing at the Walton School at one time, and maybe perhaps was put in storage or whatever. Don't know what happened to it.
So my understanding, and I did follow up with our park and tree supervisor that handles this, and I believe it was actually a resident that was holding on to it because they were using it. Is what someone had told me, and I said, well, that's not really what we want to be doing here.
You know,
It's
originally,
it's not just for one person, it's for whoever wants to,
Right.
whoever gets there and can use it. So yeah, so I've been following up on that, and I'll add it as an action item for me to make sure that got added back. I don't think it has been added back though, right? I asked that it was, so.
I can
yeah,
go
it
Would
take a
you
hasn't
look.
say
been-
resident has been using it, so they bring it when they bring their loved one and then they
That's
take
what
it
I
when
was
they
told,
leave?
yeah.
There was a child at the school who used a wheelchair, and her family was original when that was built, given the swing so that it didn't get wrecked by, you know, on the weekends. And that young woman, she's not a child anymore.
Right,
is
right. So
past college age at this point. I'm thinking she's
there you go.
somewhere
not using
around,
it.
she's in
I
her
don't think
late
it's what she's
20s.
using it, so.
She's not in the
Yeah.
swing anymore.
Probably not. So, yeah, we'll follow back up on that. I thought that it was resolved and that we got it back, but clearly it didn't happen. So it was on the park and tree supervisor to deal with, but I will follow up with him and get that resolved.
But that's a good point. So is that something that is a concern, that assuming we get it back, it gets installed, and then we need to worry about something that's that pricey getting ruined?
You know, but I mean, I think you can ruin there's a lot of parts on these playgrounds you can ruin if you really want to. So I think that's just sort of the cost of doing business, right? Unfortunately.
I guess.
If
but that's a
it
shame.
is found and still usable, can it be installed at one of the major playgrounds, like the one down by the lake, so that it's, you know, it's kind of like open to the community, and as opposed to people wondering which school it might be at or something like that?
No, I think that's a good suggestion. If that's what the commission would like to see happen, I'm happy to do that.
I've been talking about that for several years, and trying to think of his name, the one that's in charge of the sugar, I can't remember his name.
In charge of what, the parks?
The parks and stuff, yeah. Because
Joe Conway?
No.
Fazio? Dennis Fazio?
No, but there was somebody else, and he has a committee, and Dan and I had gone to one of his meetings, and no one has gone to the. Oh, I can't think of his name. He's over at where the flags usually are when they have special flags. Do you know what I mean?
The Civic Center?
Yes, thank you.
Is that the Civic? So the young man who does the recreation?
Yeah, recreation,
Dan
that's
Yeah.
recreation department. Yeah, he
Yeah,
doesn't typically manage that though. Yeah, it would
Right.
be Public Works that does.
yeah, but Dan and I've been doing this, asking for this for several years. And I feel that's very important downtown by the lake, sort of, with but it has to be a special chair, a special um, ground, if you know what I mean. Dirt.
Yep, the ones you can get to from the ground and access
Yeah.
from the ground. Yep, I follow you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that, to me, and maybe I'm over speaking, but I think that's the next thing that should be worked on.
Okay.
Or one that I can't think of her name either. My mind is going. The newbie on the committee.
Judy.
Judy, I'm sorry. But I think that is very important. We've been waiting for years. And while that money is available, I would really like that, because it would help the parents in the town that would come with their kids. Everybody else is on the swing. So the people that are on the swing, oh darn, why can't I go on a school?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So
Do you know what I
let
mean?
me do this. Let me take a look as an action item for me to look this month, and I'll come back to the commission next month with a recommendation on what I think we should be doing for, at least for Maple Way and JJ Round to start with, and then I'll have a report on what the funding was intended to do for each of the playgrounds that we have, and just
Right.
make sure that that's included on in the new construction. So I'll make sure that I report back on all the playgrounds too. All right.
I do appreciate, and I hope I didn't take too much of your time or the committee's. I just think it's really
No,
important.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yes, no, in Lois, where they may have a swing already, that will make it move along more quickly, we would hope.
Right. Hopefully that particular one would work down by the lake.
Right.
So the kids can say, oh, I can go on the swing.
I'm sure there'll be a lot
So
of kids happy to see that.
So that, that's important to me. I mean, not that I'm anything special, but we've been going over this for years. And that was my
Wheelchair swing.
wheelchair swing.
We're gonna help you check that box off, Lois.
Yeah, we got you covered.
We're working it.
Yep.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, all of you, for listening to me.
Of course. Does anybody else have any other comments in regard to the playgrounds? Okay, so Bill, now I'm going to move on. We received an email, probably going back a couple of months now, from a resident who expressed a concern with accessibility at a school event. And this individual has deaf and hard of hearing issues.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't sure where you fall within the jurisdiction of the school, if you have anything to do with that, if that has nothing to do with you and there's another party that should have been directed to.
Yeah. So typically that would be handled through the school department, but I didn't really get a copy of that complaint. So I'm not sure, if you could maybe send that my way, and I can follow up with the school department and see who is handling accessibility issues over there, and try to resolve that issue.
So just so that the board is aware of the issue, this individual was attending a school event for their child, and couldn't hear in this meeting. He couldn't hear, and I said to Bill, similar to what we do on our meeting agenda, where we have a statement there at the top that says, if you require accommodations, please contact us, obviously in advance, and we'll do our best to to put those accommodations in place. And I'm wondering if that should not now become, if it's not already a requirement of the school department, a requirement that they have the same statement in any type of meetings they hold, so that they know ahead of time if there's going to be a parent there that has a challenge that's going to need some accommodation.
For sure. I definitely agree. And so I've been following up too, because we talked about this at one of the previous meetings too, is that, you know, those statements are on everyone's agendas. So just so you're aware, that is standard operating procedure now for the town. So that includes ZBA, planning board, all those folks, they're all doing it. So
Including the school department? Including the school
that I'm not
department?
aware of. So
Yeah.
I'll check that, but I can tell you that all of the town departments are handling it that way.
Right. Okay, so it may need to reach out to the schools.
That's what I think. So if you want to send it my way, I'll take a look at it. I'll contact the school folks and see who handles these types of things on that side, and we'll go from there.
Okay, yep, I will get that to you right after this meeting.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I don't, does anybody else have anything specific?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Lorna.
Okay, so it's on our agenda in this fine print up here,
Right.
but it's not posted in the paper. Matter of fact, the agendas aren't posted until almost the day you have a meeting. So, you know, nothing is, I mean,
They're
people are attending this meeting. Pardon me?
Yeah. I was gonna say, so they are posted at town hall. So that's the public meeting requirement, is that we have to post it in town hall and then in the paper. So it should be in the paper a minimum of 3 days prior to the meeting. That's what the open meeting law requirement is.
Okay, so I'm not sure if it was posted in Friday's paper. I send the agenda in the Wednesday before the meeting. So the meeting
Okay,
is,
so that would meet that.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's, the meeting is actually posted today
In the paper,
in the paper.
but it also was in the paper you said on Wednesday as well, right?
No, that's when I send it in. That's when I'm required to send it in, Wednesday before the meeting.
Wednesday before the meeting. So that means it would be in the Thursday paper, right?
Well,
Not
I'm
often, I
assuming,
don't
I'm
think.
not sure. I usually don't see it until Monday.
Okay,
We'll
that's
have to,
interesting.
we
I'll
have to check on
further
that.
on that.
Yeah, maybe we should take that offline to see how we want to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the one that's handling the posting that's going into the newspaper.
No, I
No, we
have to
s-
send my agenda into postings down at the town hall.
Okay,
And they're the ones that put it in the paper.
okay, all right. All right. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is each of the committees and boards handle it a little bit differently and have different support staff. So, you know, obviously I'm your support staff. So if this isn't happening timely, then let me
I'll have
rectify.
to, yeah, I could try to find Friday's paper, see if it was in Fridays.
So technically,
Mike.
it should be in Thursday, Friday, and Monday's paper, Bill? Are those the 3
It's only
days?
required to be in there once.
Oh, in
So
there
it would
once.
typically it
Okay.
would be run in one paper, not in multiple ones. So if this hasn't been advertised appropriately, that would be a concern of mine. So we'll take a look. I'm not sure who handles the postings specifically in town hall, so I'll have to check.
Well,
with
I do,
that.
but I'm not going to say that over.
I appreciate that. And yeah.
Because
so-
even in tonight's paper, so tonight's paper has what meetings are being held tonight and what meetings are being held Tuesday.
Right. Okay. But I guess my question is, well, rather than I think wasting the commission's time on all of the minutia stuff about the posting, unless everyone's interested in it, but you know, we can talk about, because there's certain requirements that we gotta have for open meeting law. Is it in just the regular section of the paper, or is it in the classifieds, like the actual ads? Because that's where they're required.
It's just under public meetings.
Yeah, see, I think that might be a little different than what, that might just be something that the newspaper is doing to help folks in town. as opposed to the official notice.
That is.
Which should be where? Where should it be, the official
That would be,
notice?
it's in the back section of it under the legal, there's like a legal ad description section in the back of the paper. That's
Okay.
where the requirements are for all the postings for different meetings.
Okay, I'll go dig through my papers and
It
see.
must be next to the Dear Abby section.
It should be right next to Dear Abby. There you go.
There you go.
Dear Abby, where are my postings going?
There you go. Too funny.
I don't think the whole notice is all together possibly.
No, it's not. It gives just a kind of a blip. It says Commission on Disability.
All the committees. that have-
Disabilities. Remote meeting, 7 PM. The agenda includes discussion on topics regarding the MBTA via Zoom and gives the Zoom
Public-
access.
Okay.
So maybe
would be
there
it.
then
That
needs
should
to
be
be
it.
a
Public.
heading above, before they list all the different meetings, there should be a heading above it that specifically calls that out. They only have to print it
There
once and it would relate to all the meetings.
There
Could
is a public meetings that are going
All right.
on.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's take a look at that. Maybe we can dig out the papers and scan them to you,
Yeah,
Bill.
Laura, yeah, I can take a look tomorrow in
Okay.
tomorrow's paper and review.
Okay,
The item is, excuse me for interrupting. The item decides what goes where. So they're doing us a favor by putting all these meetings in, so people know that the meetings are going on. But they do have discretion on what and where in the paper. That's my thought.
all right, we'll get to the bottom of it. We just want to make sure that people are aware but they're not doing any good to be in our meeting notice if the public isn't seeing it, so.
It's
True.
definitely
Very true.
there, but we have some of the items, so.
But a shortened version.
A shortened version, actually. So,
Yeah,
Okay,
right. I think that might be what's going on. Maybe we're reading the shortened
Yeah.
version as opposed to the actual legal ad, which is different.
okay.
Yep. Now, I don't know whether we have to ask for a legal type, but there could be a cost to that. I don't think so.
Fully on.
The town puts it on.
All right, well, we'll have Bill investigate it and let us know what he finds out.
Sure.
Okay.
And Bill, do you know anything about what's going on with the accessibility at Wakefield Station? We've been asked to communicate with Representative Lipper Garabedian, and we did send a letter directly in. We sent a letter along with the town and with the representatives, and then we were asked to do it individually, and I made sure that got in before I think it was the April 25th deadline, but I'm just curious if you knew if there was any feedback, or maybe that's not.
I haven't heard a thing. No, I
Okay.
don't even think I was CC'd on any of that went in. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe we just, Lois, did you have an update on that?
Yeah, there is it's called CIP. It's a 5-year plan that they're putting together. There are 21 stations around the area that are not handicapped accessible.
Oh,
So they're gonna be working on it or try to attempt. Well, we may do it, but then again, we may not, is kind of what the answer is.
well, we'll have to kind
You know
of
what it is?
keep abreast of that.
It's a squeaky wheel, and I'm very squeaky.
Okay. We're counting on you.
Don't, let me tell you. Don't count me out.
Nope, we're counting on you to make this happen.
Sorry, Bill.
No problem.
Okay.
One question. My husband wants to just say one thing. I
Sure.
think it's regarding that.
Permission to start.
Permission to talk.
Yes, Dan, you have permission to talk.
Thank you. Talking with, I believe it was Representative Wong at the meeting the other night at the Galvin. He said that they're working on it. It is part of the CIP. We actually were on that, and that's a 5-year plan. And like Lois said, it's a maybe, and they're looking into it for a possibility of putting some kind of a portable access point. But that's a maybe, and probably that maybe will never come true. But anyway, he said, there's 20-something other stations that have a similar, and Wakefield would have to be a double tracks. So
Right.
2 of them, similar to Melrose Highlands, not like Reading, which is only 1 track. But anyway, they're looking into it. But like Lois said, the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the oil, and maybe we can get that portable, access point. It's better than nothing, but we'll see.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for that update.
I'm squeaky, remember?
Does anyone else have anything for Bill?
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. He is.
Thank you very much.
Bill,
Lois.
I want,
appreciate
you
it.
know what, before you go,
Sure.
it's sort of in line with the MBTA, and this could be of interest to you, so that's why I want you to hear it. And I'm sorry, I'm going out of order here on our agenda, but Judy, would you want to talk a little bit about the discussion that you and I had when we were talking about this accessibility issue at the train station? You brought up what I thought was a really good point in regarding, again, to some of the challenges you've had when trying to take the train. And the for folks that don't know, the MBTA is now partnering with the ride, and or I don't know if I want to call it a partnership, but I guess it is because the ride is part of the MBTA. So really the ride is partnering with Lyft and Uber to offer that kind of ride share service. And I thought, Jude, you're not thinking when you're not in that position. And I thought Judy made some really valid points for advocating. Should we run into a huge roadblock with getting the train stations accessible? Judy made a really valid point about where we may then want to divert our advocacy. And I'd like her, if you wouldn't mind, Judy, I'm sorry I keep calling on you, but I just thought you made some really good points that I'd like you to bring forward to the whole commission and to Bill, so that he's just aware.
Okay, so I just attended a meeting
Right.
that was about this very specific issue. So I don't know if you want me to give that report now.
Yes, why don't we do that? Let's just
Okay.
go out of order because I'd like Bill to hear it.
All right, so I wrote up a little thing about it. So I'll just tell you what the meeting was about, and then it will answer some of the questions we discussed. So in every subway station, they're trying very hard to do what's called transit ambassador. And anybody who's been on the subway, you might have seen them because they have a red cap and a red shirt. And then their goal is to increase this staffing, and specifically if they have any service diversions, that there would be somebody there to speak to, and you would be able to know who it was because they're designated by this very specific red cap and red shirt. And then they are providing reasonable requests for assistance for anybody who has a disability, particularly during these diversions. And then they're also working on these large digital information panels, and they just came on board at some of the stops, and their goal is to get them subway wide. And then there's also a pilot program. They're going to be rolling this out at Forest Hills, but they'd like to do more of it, and that will be information on what elevators are out of service specifically, and it will be posted by the elevators so that anybody who needs elevators can have access to all the information right at their fingertips. And then one of the other things that's important for everybody on the commission to know is people have maybe run into some delays in processing their Charlie cards and the reduced fare for disability and senior. And this is because the equipment that they use to process this is being serviced. And so they're having difficulties getting the replacement cards out to people. So I actually have a phone number, and people could call this, and then what they're doing while these repairs are made is they're going to be mailing people temporary passes. So I'll just say the phone number, which is 617-222-3200.
And could you send me, I'm sorry to interrupt, just send me an email with a little blurb and that number, and I'll send it to Jen McDonald and have her put it on our page.
Sure. And then with the ride, which we talked about, so I think everybody's familiar with it. It's the shared service, the shared ride service, which has, you know, they're doing a really great job with it. They're really trying to increase it. And then they've been partnering with Uber and Lyft. And it's an augmentation to the ride vans. So it's increasing options for the riders. And one of the things that is really great about this is it's called Ride Flex. And then folks who are eligible for the ride, they would then put their name toward this Ride Flex, and then they could get part of their rides would be approved. They would apply to get part of their rides approved so that they could take the Uber and Lyft. And the greatest part about that is that they have a 90% have wait times that are like 17.5 minutes or less.
Wow.
So it's really great for folks, and they're really encouraging people about that. So anybody who, I'll email you this too, but anybody who's interested, it's mbta.com/accessibility, and it's called the Ride Flex. So mbta.com/the Ride Flex. And then they also have an email address that is anybody who has a challenge that they have come across within the transportation system. It's called System-Wide Accessibility, which you're probably already familiar with, but that's the group that is working very hard to address everybody's concerns. So they're really, really trying hard to make everything very accessible. And this Ride Flex program is, I think, a fabulous addition to options.
Do you have by a chance have the phone number for that? I used to take the ride years ago.
Yep. So it's that main phone number, which is 617-222-3200. And then they'll answer any questions. They'll also answer any questions about Ride Flex. So again, their flagship ride program is still the main one. And then the Ride Flex is to augment that service.
I know, can I just say something in between? I know in the past, a lot of people were not aware that in order to take the ride, mostly when I was taking it, you had to get a doctor's note in order to be on the list to take the ride. When I was riding.
So you have to,
Yeah, you
I
have
think
to have some sort of
have
a
to-
challenge that
right.
Right, well,
would make it so it would be difficult for you to wait at a bus stop or,
right.
yeah.
And my other thought was, my problem is, and I don't mean to take the time, but my problem is, my concern is the way things are now. I would actually be afraid to get into a car that I don't know. First of all, I've done that in the past. Even in good old Wakefield, I've gotten into a car, embarrassed as heck, but I've gotten into a car and oh, what are you in my car for? My wife's in the store. It's like, I felt like a jerk. But what I'm trying to say is, the way things are, I would be afraid to take either of those two things. I really would be.
So
Because my stuff's bad, I don't see well on the sides of me here this way. I see not well, but I get around, especially after being married to my wonderful husband. He takes me anywhere, always asks me, where do you want to go? So I would have a problem doing that, but if I had to, that's my biggest fear. Because you don't know who
So
you're.
just to clarify, the Ride Flex that offers people to have part of their service through Uber or Lyft,
Right.
they don't have to do that. That's,
Right.
you would let them know that you are interested in that portion of the service. It's
Right.
maybe not for everybody, but
I understand that part, but I would still be concerned.
So Lois, they still have the ride, so
Right,
that's
true
like
that.
you remember it. And then they
Right.
have this other
Right.
piece now called, that partners with Lyft and Uber. And I
Right.
understand where you're coming from, because I'm not comfortable with putting my son, Dan, in a Lyft or Uber. I've put him on the ride, but not
Right,
in a Lyft
right.
or Uber. So
right.
I get it.
Sorry, I just kind of
Nope, that's it.
blew up.
Thank you, Judy, for attending that. I really appreciate it. I
Thank you.
wanted to, but my day just didn't allow me to on the 28th.
I have a question for Judy about the Uber and the Lyft part of that. Are they going to provide accessible vans? Or is it just regular car?
They have both, I know.
Yeah, I didn't know, because
so from what I understand, anybody who is interested in augmenting their ride service with this, there's a very specific part of the ride that would answer whatever questions, and I would anticipate they would work with the person to have what worked for them.
Okay.
I'm sure
So I
it's
have
different for everyone.
Coworker who uses a service dog who has been challenged. I can't even tell you how many times getting into an Uber or a Lyft and told you can't bring the dog with you.
Wow.
And at one point she called the police, who responded because she said, I'm not getting out. No, he called the police. The driver called the police. So anyway, so they're not really always aware of what it is that they're required to do. I think it sounds like they're probably doing training going along with this about meeting the needs of people with disabilities. So that would be great.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons they had this meeting, so that part of it was public forum, so that folks could ask their questions or give comments, and follow up with their staff with anything that's necessary. And then it sounded like they would have a follow-up scheduled as well, for also some public commentary.
That's interesting, Janice, for that someone who had signed up for this through the ride as an Lyft or Uber driver wouldn't, would take exception to something like that.
Right. I hope they have, it wasn't through this program. It was just regular Lyft, regular Uber driver.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
she in fact is a trainer. As a side gig, she trains. She likes to tell her parents that I work at a driving school now. She has no vision. So she works at driving school and she trains the cab drivers. All drivers are required to take the service animal. It's not an issue, but becomes an issue very, very frequently for her.
Interesting. Is she aware of this Flex program, do you think?
I don't know. I'll ask.
Okay. Yeah, Judy, if you would share that, we'll get it out. We'll have Jen put it on the town's Facebook page, particularly that issue you mentioned with the cards, because people just want to know. And then we can start to promote this the ride, and because I'm sure a lot of people are not familiar with the Uber Lyft component, so then that could be helpful to people.
I didn't know it until I got there. And I wasn't planning.
Okay, is there anything else for Bill? We'll let him go.
Thank you, Bill.
Unless you want to stay, Bill, you're always welcome, but
I appreciate that, but the Bruins
already
are on in
worked
the
your day.
playoffs. So. Yeah.
Yep, we get it.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bill.
folks. Don't
Thank you.
hesitate.
Talk to
hit
you
me,
next
please,
month.
Thank you. Take
Of
care.
course. And as always, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to email me.
Okay,
reach out to
thank
me.
you.
Always available.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Okay. All right, so I think we've been productive. The only other items that I have are to talk about intelligent lives and just do a little debrief.
Can I make us, well, I don't know whether it's not up to me, but can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I think after the elections, which the elections have already happened, I think what we, the commission or any board, is supposed to regroup and have, my suggestion would be now, and I feel like I'm bothering everybody, but you, Marie, and you, Lorna, have done a great job from start to finish everywhere. So my suggestion, and like I said, I apologize if I'm talking too much, but to reorganize and have you two, and then get like a secretary to take the notes in the future. That is
So-
what is supposed to be done at this meeting.
Well, Levon has been the secretary since
Right.
Darcy gave it up. And what we've been doing is doing that in the fall. We haven't been doing it at this April meeting. So,
Okay.
and that was something I was going to put on the agenda for next month.
Right.
Just basically, yes, we are officers. It's an election. It's an election process, and for people that may be interested, I actually had sent Bill an email, and until Lois just brought it up, to ask him how this, I don't know, Janice, maybe how does this typically work for other boards and commissions? I know that when you see the school committee or the town council, they rotate every year, and I don't know if people volunteer, if people are appointed within the commission or board. I don't know how that's typically done.
Appointed by the group, I think.
Well, that was a question, so, but first people need to be interested, right? So
Right, and
You
I,
know, the
like I-
history of this, Lois, as you recall, is Lorna, and I think it was Paula, came on board.
right,
Before our first meeting, all the officers from the previous board resigned.
Mm.
And so Lorna and I stepped up. Lois agreed to be the treasurer, and maybe it was Darcy who agreed to be the
No, it was
secretary.
Tracy was the secretary at first.
Okay, that's right. And then she
Darcy and Paula
resigned.
came on at the same time, and that was after
Okay.
Tracy went off.
Okay, and it's often, and I get this, people are happy to be on a board, but they don't always want a leadership role.
right.
And so, we
You know,
do elections every year. We ask people to throw their hat in the ring, and
In other words, we nominate, but you don't have to take the position if you don't want it.
okay, so is that we can,
That's the way it
Janice,
goes.
what is your knowledge, or if anybody else has any knowledge of how this has worked in the past on other boards?
Oh, I'll ask about that. My spouse is on several of the boards, and I have a feeling that people self-identify and
Yeah,
say,
that-
sure, I'd be interested in doing it. And then other people are pretty clear, no, thank you, I don't want to. And then there are some others that are kind of in between,
Mhm.
that if they, happy to let somebody else do it. But if you are, in need of somebody for a position, they might step up. So this is a very small group. So,
Maybe
4
I
out of the 9.
overspoke.
So this is what I would have said last month. Think about it over the summer, because we're not going to meet over the summer. If you're
Right.
interested in throwing your hat in the ring for a position, send me an email. We'll put together a ballot for the September meeting and vote. And unless we find a better way of handling that, that's what we've been doing in the past, basically. Will that work, Lois? Does that sound okay to
Sure.
you? Okay.
Sure, whatever's best
Because
for
we
you.
really just have
And
next month, and then that's the, we will recess for the summer and start back in September.
Right.
Marie, is this a 9-person board? What's the maximum number of people?
Right now it is. When we first
Okay.
started, it was what, Lorna? 5? You're on mute.
Something like that.
I think we were 5.
Right, and then we had to go before town council, Janice, and make a request to expand the board, and they agreed. I think if you look, we're just following the state charter, and you know what? I'll try to dig out all that paperwork maybe for our next meeting.
You know what
I
I
think-
think it was? I think that there could be 7 on the board, but we only had 5. And then when we got to 7, we wanted, clearly, we felt that the board should be bigger. And so they finally did approve us for 9. But we could actually have, what is it, up to 13? Is that it?
I can't remember if it's 13 or 15. That's what I want to check to see what the state regs say.
But yeah,
It's
the council
up to-
only approved up to 9.
Right, and we wanted to keep it an odd number for voting
Yeah.
purposes, right?
Right.
And, and basically our point was, we have a lot of things we want to accomplish, and with 5 people, right, you just, you need hands, you need bodies to be able to do things. So, and we seem to, in the interest, people are becoming more familiar with the board. Commission, I don't know, I don't know that it was so well known in the past. So we're getting at least, when Sherry puts out a request, people are responding. So that's a good thing. I don't know. So let's kind of, that segues us into Intelligent Lives. Our purpose, one of the purposes for that was to get the commissions out there, right, as a commission in town. So I just want to get feedback from people. What worked? What could we have done better? Do you think we accomplished? Sure, Levon.
I wanted to bring back some feedback from My father, who was in attendance, who's also a Rotary member, he really enjoyed the movie and the discussion. And they meet, I don't know if it's every Wednesday or every other Wednesday, but at the meeting following that, he brought he updated the Rotary on what we had discussed and about the movie, and they are very interested in having someone come to one of their meetings in the future and maybe put on if we could, a shortened version, show a clip or two from the movie and just give like a synopsis, and then also talk about the issue of hiring individuals with disabilities. And there's a lot of business owners who are members of Rotary, so local business owners, and I think it would be great if we could put that together.
Okay, that's positive feedback. Anybody else?
Would there be any way to mix some clips of the movie with clips from the evening? Because I thought, I loved the panel, loved it, and thought that all the employees did so incredibly well. But I also liked hearing the employers talk about how positive they were about their employees and about the things that made the employees who were there above average. And because they were consistent, showing up, taking on specific tasks that worked well for them. And if there were pieces of that we could mix in with a clip, and then maybe, I don't know if WCAT can do that and kind of make us a little mixtape. And
So WCAT, somewhere on their website, they did record the panel.
Mhm.
They did a little bit of editing, and they have posted it. And I will, I think in that piece, did you see the piece that was in the item form that Lorna and I had put in? Well, I originally signed it from all of us, but the item made me put a name. So I will, after this meeting, I will send you, I will look for the location and I will send it to you. But WCAT has posted it on their YouTube page, I think is where she told me it was going to go. And they should be playing it. It should be being played on WCAT on TV. Yes.
Do you know how long? I'm sorry.
It's just the panel discussion. It's the introductions and then the panel. So probably at least an hour.
I'm wondering if we could do a 6-minute snippet of that, just taking literally, and
Yeah,
then that's the kind of thing we could show to a Rotary or, with some key statements.
I don't know, if you can take snippets of the movie, because
Probably
that's under
not.
the copyright.
But
That's
you know
right.
what? The movie has a trailer.
It does have a trailer.
So we could
right.
use what's on their website. We could use the trailer and maybe, so that's in the public domain. So I bet WCAT could maybe take the trailer, and then if they were amenable to doing snippets from our panel discussion, they could probably create something for us. That's a good idea.
Kind of sticky there, though, I think.
What was that, Lois?
I think it's kind of a sticky situation. Number one, it's using people. That's kind of like, we thought this was just this one group one time. And my worry is, okay, if Paula's not here tonight, I don't think that would go over that well.
Well, we may
No,
have
we
to
need to
get
ask.
permission. We
Yeah,
may
we
have
may
to
just-
get written
right.
permission from all the parties in order
Yeah.
to do that.
Right.
Right.
Real true consent, so that they understand
Yeah.
that they have options and choices.
Right.
Ryan down at WCAT.
Can also,
Snippet.
you can also talk to Ryan. He could probably snip it, but you have to be real careful. with
Yeah,
that.
let's,
I don't mean to butt in, but
nope, that's a
my-
good,
It's not butting in. That's an
good
excellent point.
point. Yeah,
Rotary is like a 45-minute meeting.
Rotary is like a 45-minute meeting, so you won't have a lot done.
No, they don't want a, you know, they have other things to discuss. What they like to do is they like to have people from the community come and speak at their meetings once in a while, just to bring issues, you know, from the community to them
Right.
and to their members. And so I think that's what they're looking for, is just, I don't know how long, but I think that's something, you know, if we wanted to go forward with this, that would be something that we could ask, you know, how long of a presentation do you want? What
Mhm.
kind of a presentation? I think there's more details to find out about that.
But the other thing is, if these people that spoke, the people that was at that table, I don't know how comfortable the people or the parents of the people would feel about that.
well, that's why we
I
would have
think
to
they're-
get consent.
Yeah, and I actually think they were looking for some of us to come to their meeting. That
Yeah.
was my understanding.
Okay. I'm just thinking out loud.
I think they meet at Tuesdays at noontime for about 45 minutes because it's the businesses doing it in between their lunch break. I think at Brightview.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have seen some of their meetings.
Well,
Uh,
Levon, we'll certainly
Check it out.
follow up on that. Let's get with WCAT and see what, and thank you, Kate just sent us all an email that has the link.
I'm sorry, Maria, it just occurs to me afterwards that I replied to an old one. So Judy's probably not on that.
Okay, so I'm gonna send it to her.
Do you want me to follow up on that opportunity?
Yes, if you would, that would be great.
Okay.
I can send you, okay, I'm just sending this, Judy, this is coming your way. I can send you the link to the Intelligent Lives trailer, so you can see that, and then I think we have contact information for at least the stores where we could then probably get them to get permission from all of the individuals.
That would be good.
What I think would be great is to, if we were able to go to a meeting, would be maybe to bring the listing of employment agencies to pass out, and maybe some of the other handouts that we had
Yep.
from Intelligent Live.
Yes, because we had put together, I don't have the sheet in front of me now, but a sheet that had some of the different agencies. And hadn't we talked about putting that up on our website? Paula was gonna kind of give a little bit of input. So
I mean, the resource list.
the resource list, yes.
We can also see if there, because that was kind of done pretty quickly. If there are other things people want to add to that, I'd be happy to do more.
Okay, when you get a minute, will you send that around again to everybody, and then we can take a look at that. Thanks, Luan. That is good feedback, because I was curious as to, you know, what some people thought. Did anybody else receive any feedback from anybody?
A friend of mine was there, and she was very impressed with it. And was very informative, and she gained a lot of knowledge from it, because knowledge that she didn't normally have about people with disabilities. So she doesn't represent the business world, but certainly she's quite known in Wakefield too. So that was really good to get her feedback.
And so how do we continue the discussion was going to be my next question. You know, what Levon is suggesting is certainly one piece of it. We put that piece in the item. I keep checking our email, nobody's responding. So I was hoping that would get some businesses to reach out. One thought I had, and I don't, I'm looking for feedback on this. A few weeks ago, when they were reviewing the budgets for each of the town departments, they have included in the budget at town hall the greeter. I don't know if any of you had gone to town hall during COVID, but they instituted a greeter that when you go to the door, there's somebody there who asks you, you know, your name, who you're going to see, the time, giving you a mask if you needed a mask, and etc. The hand gel. The one or two times I was there, it always seemed to be a young person, so maybe a college student. I personally thought that would be a really good spot for an individual with disabilities. People's thought on that?
Thought, yeah.
I think it's a
I think
great
it would be
idea.
nice for the town to take a leadership role in that and setting a good tone for the rest of the community.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Kristen. I think it would open the door for a spot for many people with a disability. And it would be a very visible position, because that would be the first person you saw when you came to the door at town hall.
That's a great idea.
It's probably not a full-time position. I think it
I
was
don't,
just a
yeah, I was just going to
part-time
ask you if it
position.
was a full-time
I
position.
don't think
When I was
so.
down there the other day, it was not a college student that was at that reception desk.
Okay.
It's not, there's 2 or 3 people that take
Okay, so it
different
probably
shifts during
is
the week.
a part-time position, and that they rotated. Okay, so we could say, you know, if it's 3 separate people, you know, we are requesting that one of those people be a person with a disability.
They might already be.
I think we
Well-
should, I think as a commission, we should even send a letter to the human resources about this issue, because recently I had an issue that I didn't like, that I thought was kind of discriminatory against people applying for jobs in the town of Wakefield. They have a summer program for kids that are between high school and college. And I thought they've made it harder for people to get those jobs that have kids, you know, that have disabilities. And they they have a very hard policy. They changed their policy, and they have a very hard policy on, you have to have a driver's license to have one of their jobs, when driving is not a requirement for most of the jobs. Even the office jobs, you have to have a driver's license. Well, a lot of kids with disabilities don't have driver's license, and with the COVID, it was hard for a lot of kids to get driving experience, and so a lot of kids have delayed getting their licenses, and they will not make any exceptions on that. So I just think they have some hiring policies. That's just one experience with one position that I know of, but the inflexibility of it, to me, made it seem like they don't understand or don't want to be flexible on their hiring practices. It's just that was how I felt.
That's surprising. And if young people, they may have a driver's license, but they don't have a car. So what would possibly be the point of needing to have a driver's license if it's not directly related to the work? That sounds really discriminatory.
And right, it really should be on a case by case basis. If the actual job requires you to drive somewhere, that's one thing. But if you're a high school or college student, mainly if you're a high school student, you have to have so many years experience before you can even have anybody in that car with you. So it's not like they're going to be transporting the kids around or anything.
Hey, what about somebody with a vision problem, like myself?
Correct. And if you can't drive,
I can't drive.
but that doesn't mean that you couldn't be a counselor or, participate in some role there.
You see, people with severe anxiety problems don't necessarily go out for their license because they're afraid to drive too. So, I mean, that's a terrible, terrible policy for this town to have, requiring someone to have their license when their job description doesn't require them to have to drive.
Levon, do you have a job, do you have the posting or whatever that you had seen that we could, that we could respond to?
It was the summer job postings. I don't actually have the job postings because my son had the job last year, and they had sent out an email saying, if you had the job last year, you could reapply. But they had said that these were the new policy changes, and he doesn't have his driver's license. So when he asked if that was a flexible rule, they said no. So that's how I have that information. So I don't actually have the job postings, but it's the summer postings. They have jobs at the DPW. They have jobs at the Parks and Recreation Department. There's jobs at the town hall, and they encourage, kids to apply for the summer.
Marie.
And there's usually jobs at the light department too, usually in the office.
Lois, you had a question?
I have a question. No. I would like to suggest that since Maureen Butt is going to be the new Julie.
She's the new chair, yeah.
Going to be the chair. How about talking to her? No?
Yeah, maybe that is
She's a liaison for us.
she is the liaison to us. I wondered, is this something we want to talk in a public forum to her about, that we invite her to next month's meeting?
I think we need to have some kind of written policy that we can look at from human resources to make sure that that is how it's written in there. I think we need to see that first, so we can definitely say this is a fact.
Okay.
I have the email.
Great, okay.
From the director of HR, which is Amy Forziati, or Forzi, I think it's Forziati.
That email came from her?
Yes, it did.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's, yeah, maybe we should, take a look at that so we have our facts, and then we can make an inquiry. Formulate our thoughts as to what we want to say. Okay, so this is, and so the only other piece I had, going back to Intelligent Lives, and this was a suggestion that came from Paula, is the possibility of sponsoring and what she's referring to as an annual visibility event for us. And seeing where I think we got positive feedback from Intelligent Lives, that may be something that we want to continue. And so I think we have a couple of things to think about as we end the year, is how do we want to continue this employment discussion? And it sounds like we have, we have one lead, which would be the Rotary. So let's pursue that. I think that, what Levon just brought up is an offshoot of this, right? It's an offshoot of the employment discussion, and where else better to start than here in town as to what are we doing? What is the town doing as far as supporting individuals with disabilities on their payroll? So I definitely think that is a discussion.
I wonder if that went well with the Rotary, if bringing it to the Wakefield Linfield Chamber would be another good step.
Great idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea. And, they were all invited, Kristen. I don't know if anybody from the chamber was there, but they got a personal invitation to come.
Would there be a way to get kind of an information packet out to specific employers? If we looked through Chamber of Commerce or Rotary lists and said, here are all the places that we potentially could have people with disabilities employed, which is probably pretty much everything, and maybe send them the resource list with a cover letter saying, this is what this list is. You can actually get guidance and assistance and candidates by going through these organizations, or really enhance the list so that it really says more about what they do.
I think that really is going to be what's needed, because I think even for those businesses, like we did through the registration, one of the businesses in town reached out, and that was basically what they were saying, so you have an employer that's interested in hiring, you have an employee who's looking for a job. How do you connect these two people, right? I had a discussion with a friend of mine who sits on the library board. We need a vehicle, to match jobs with employees. And I don't know that we want to step up and volunteer to do that. Now, we could offer to, if you're an employer and you have a position available, if you want to send us that position, I don't know what, we get it in the hands of some of these organizations, Communitas, Triangle, MRC, but I just don't know that we want to do that. But it would be it would be great if we could have a place where the employers and the employees could go to look, right? Employers who are interested in hiring, posting their job somewhere, and employees who are interested going to look. I just don't know how unwieldy that might get, and if that's something that we want to take on, but we can certainly, on a small scale, try to match. But we got to get employers who are interested. And I don't think that's the part of the education. I don't think employers know that a lot of these folks, especially those folks that are in a program and through an MRC, have support. They would come with supports, job coaches, etc. So yeah, that's definitely something I think that's, somehow we need to continue that discussion.
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
My apologies, maybe I misspoke. Let me just say that I'm thinking, and now that Maureen Butt is going to be in Julie's space, so she won't be the liaison for us.
Oh, yep, good point.
So what I'm thinking is, I don't know who the person, and maybe I just blew it and I didn't mean to blow it the wrong way.
No, it should be on the town. They have in the past posted it on the town website.
Right,
If you go,
but
I
I,
haven't been on
right,
lately,
I,
but
I haven't either, but I feel kind of guilty in my head. And I gotta get that out because I think that I misspoke. Yes, she was our liaison, but because she's gonna be taking over Julie's spot,
could be somebody else.
yeah,
All right, well, we should be easily able to find that out by just looking
right,
at the
right,
website to see.
I know.
Does anybody have any other items? I think that's all for the agenda items. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to bring up? Nope. Okay, well. Thank you for another great discussion. I think we're on our way. Bill's got some action items, so hopefully he comes back and we can get some of the concerns with the parks squared away. And it looks like, there's money out there, so this is a good time to be having these discussions.
Now, would we all get copies of any letters that he would give to you, Marie, that we would get also?
I'll send I don't know that there are any letters that he would be sending us, but whatever he does give to me, yes, I will forward out to everybody.
Yeah, and I don't even know Julie's email either. So just to keep her name there too, because I don't know that either.
Julie, is that
Judy.
what you're at?
Judy's.
Oh, Judy, yes, Judy's
Yeah.
on the distribution now, so yep, she'll get a
Okay, 'cause
copy of everything.
I haven't seen that, so.
Well, I think when Lorna sent out the agenda, it should,
Okay.
all of our emails should be on there now, so we should all be able to communicate to each other.
Okay, I just want, if she doesn't mind.
Nope, I'm sure she doesn't. Okay, so if there is nothing else, it's 8:25. I would ask somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
John.
Thank you, Lois, and
Second.
second. Thanks,
Second.
Lorna. Okay, well then, have a great month. We'll see you June something, whatever that date is, and we'll communicate by email otherwise to send around any additional information that we receive between now and then.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Good night.
Have a
Good
great
Good
month.
night.
You too.